Hello, my name is Juan Piñeiro. I'm an assistant professor and extension dairy specialist for the Department of Animal Science, Texas A&M University. And today is my professional and personal pleasure to introduce a friend and colleague, Dr. Robert Hagevoort. He will be talking a little bit about a conference that we will have soon in early March this year in Amarillo, Texas. But before we talk about that conference, Robert, would you mind talking a little bit about your background so that the audience know a little bit more about you?
Sure. Yes, absolutely. My name is Robert Hagevoort. I am the Extension Dairy Specialist with New Mexico State University. I've been here now, I think 16 years. And of those years, participated as an organizer previously already with this conference for all these years. And so it's my pleasure to be able to announce that we will have another High Plains Dairy Conference coming up March 1st and 2nd as you mentioned, Juan, at the Embassy Suites in Amarillo.
Mm-hmm. So, Robert, to provide perhaps a little bit background, what is a High Plains Dairy Conference? How often does the meeting take place? And what's the goal of the meeting?
Yeah, so the High Plains Dairy Conference was started. This will be the 9th High Plains Dairy Conference. So it's a biannual conference. So it started 18 years ago in 2004. And it was actually the first High Plains Conference was initiated and organized with the late Dr. John Smith. And it was probably a spin-off, if you will, of the Western Dairy Management Conference, which he also helped organize and started. And he wanted to do, besides the Western Dairy Management Conference, wanted to do a conference at the High Plains, really focused on producers and looking at the issues that producers of the High Plains, talking about Kansas, Colorado, New Mexico, and Texas, what the producers of the High Plains are dealing with. So very focused, very much looking at what are the issues, trying to address those and provide our producers with take-home messages so they can implement, the findings of what is being presented immediately on their businesses.
So who participates in the High Plains Dairy Conference? From which states do participants come from? And how many cows are represented by the farmers that attend to this conference?
Yeah, so we see producers from Texas, New Mexico, Kansas, and Colorado primarily. Mm-hmm. And of course, those are the large producers of the High Plains. And in 2020, our last conference, just before the shutdown due to COVID, we had roughly about 40 producers representing almost 400,000 dairy cows in the High Plains.
Mm-hmm. So why should dairy farmers and perhaps also allied industry professionals, consultants, nutritionists, veterinarians, but also people from the academia and extension consider attending to the next High Plains Dairy Conference?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we have a planning committee that exists of course, extension, academia, and allied industry. But we've added this year quite a few producers to our planning committee. And so really the questions regarding the program go to the producers, and we ask them the question, what are some of the issues that you really would like to see addressed? What are some of the issues that you're dealing with and would like to have some guidance on, and how can we bring in people that might be able to talk about that? So our program really exists of speakers that have looked at some of these issues that our producers are dealing with, and look at that from a very practical, applicable, and a very again take-home message kind of view, so that producers can learn something and really on their way home can think about where they want to start in maybe applying some of those concepts that they've been provided with.
Mm-hmm. So, Robert, besides those benefits that you mentioned that should attract participants, there will be also opportunities for networking, right? Not only presentations, but there will be breaks during in between these presentations where participants can interact and network?
Absolutely. When you have that number of cows represented at a conference, of course, we have lots of allied industry consultants, nutritionists, veterinarians also attend the conference, and lots of opportunities to interact. The Tuesday night of the first day, March 1st, we'll have a reception. And so absolutely a great opportunity to network and see what is going on in the industry. And we have decided this year to make sure that we have an in-person conference. We discussed the opportunity or the possibility to have a virtual function, but knowing that producers like to interact and socialize and talk about the issues that are out there, we've opted to go into a full in-person meeting, and hopefully in March we'll be able to do that.
Mm-hmm. And Robert, you mentioned already when and where this conference is going to take place, but the other question would be when and where can participants and sponsor register? So not only participant registration, but also sponsor.
Yeah, absolutely. We will be sending out a lot of information here in the coming weeks. And but those that would like to register can do that online. Go to High Plains Dairy Conference website. The registration button is right there. There's a registration link. We have a block of rooms set aside for the High Plains Dairy Conference at the embassy. And for those companies that would like to sponsor the conference, there's the sponsorship information, the links, and everything can be done online. And then we will follow up with those companies with instructions on what to do and what is all involved in the sponsorship.
Okay. So, of course, you have right there that the conference is going to be two days long, March 1st and 2nd. But how long is it going to be? Is it going to be 2 full days, 1.5 day? And how is the program going to look like?
Yeah, we usually do a 1 3/4 day, but it looks like we might actually end up finishing the second day close to 5 o'clock. I'm still playing with a few pieces on the program and the timing, and we want to make sure that we give our presenters ample of time to discuss these issues with the producers and ample of time for Q&A. And so it looks like it will be almost a 2 full day program.
And can you perhaps not give every single detail, but provide a little bit about which content is going to be covered? Where, nutrition, reproduction. Should we expect something about policies, economics?
Yeah, it's a good question, Juan. So we typically start out the conference with an update from one of the banks. This year it will be Rabo, giving an outlook on the industry, world outlook, if you will, and where things are heading within our industry. And that is followed by, we will have 4 panel presentations with producers at the conference, one on robotics and where we are, looking really at the effects of robotics on cows and people. So getting beyond the technical aspects of robots and getting into how does it affect the cows and the operation. We also have a panel on the first day regarding federal policies, especially how federal policies have affected us throughout the pandemic, the food box program that was out there. And we're going to talk a little bit about how some of those programs that were out there for producers and were capped by size of operation. We're going to talk a little bit about how those how that affected producers. And so we'll have several people that we've invited to come in and talk about that. And then we're going to talk a little bit more about, in a few years, we'll be looking at a new farm bill again, and like to have a discussion with producers in the room about what they're looking for in a new farm bill, especially as operations continue to consolidate. And especially in our neck of the woods, operations are getting larger and larger in terms of cows. And so what these producers really need to look for in a new farm bill.
Mm-hmm. And there are going to be sections as well on reproduction, nutrition, right? And perhaps a presentation about
There
animal
are
welfare?
several presentations on nutrition, especially nutrition in light of high feed cost. Nutrition as related to optimizing components in a tier pricing system is what we have right now. There will be some reproductive talks, one looking at optimizing and getting most out of the data that most of our producers already have available. I mentioned a robotic panel. We'll have a panel on beef on dairy as well, talking about what is new in that arena. I know that a lot of producers are utilizing beef breeds in the low part of their dairy herd. And so there's some options and some new developments in that area that we want to have a look at. So we've got a panel on that. And then we'll have another panel on the second day that is really going to dive into the metrics and the tools that producers can utilize as we are striving to become more sustainable and towards that carbon neutrality. And what are some of the tools that producers can utilize to do diligence before they go into one of these big and usually very, very expensive projects? What do they need to do? Who do they need to talk to? And things like carbon or the carbon programs that are out there. I'm going to have a presentation on that, and where maybe producers can start thinking about monetizing these carbon programs, monetizing on taking manure in a different direction. And so really looking at the application part of some of those sustainability projects. And there's a lot more. It'll take probably another 10 minutes to kind of talk about it, but those are kind of the highlights of the conference that I think that producers will like and will appreciate.
March 1st and 2nd, Embassy Suites in Amarillo. High Plains Dairy Conference, plan to attend. The High Plains Dairy Conference website, you can find the participant registration over there, sponsor registration as well. We appreciate all the support that we had in 2020, and we look forward to having your support this year as well. And we look forward to seeing you all on March 1st and 2nd. Robert, any last comments?
No, I really looking forward to, again, now 2 years later, after the start of this whole event, and that we've all gone through the last 2 years, looking forward to in-person meeting and seeing a lot of people again for the first time. And looking forward to that, the interaction, and be able to provide producers with some practical take-home messages. So looking forward to see you in Amarillo. Thank you, Juan.
Thank you very much, Robert.